In this video, we're going to talk about the door SIM. Do you have a flipperzero or Chameleon Ultra or any other device sitting at home? You might want to use them while staying within the law. Then the door SIM is for you. It's a physical access control system built for research, training and CTF on RFID and physical security. I had planned this experiment since midsummer, but life got in the way and delay everything. But it might be for the better, because in the meantime the author evildaemond gave a talk at DevCon 32. And like him, I always wanted to have a testing rig where I could practice everything without breaking the law or even breaking the bank here. So it's do it yourself. He shared everything in this GitHub where you could find the PCB, the component list, and the code. So basically what you need to buy here is an ESP32, a LCD display, and a few components, and of course a PCB. And for the PCB, I was contacted and awarded by PCBWay, which is a shop where you could send the file and get your PCB even with all the different components shipped at your place. So I managed to get all the discount here to fund the PCB and the part installed. I only had to pay for customs. And basically for approx 100 euro or $100 with the customs, which is basically 20s-ish per PCBs with the parts installed, you have a working setup. So now you need to do the math to see if it's still interesting, but if you could find friends that are interested about it, I think it's a great value. Before installing the firmware on your ESP32, you need to be able to compile it. And for that, you need to run the Arduino IDE on my right with the door SIM INO5 in order to download the ESP32 board. After installing your Arduino IDE, you need to install the board on the IDE. And for this, you go into Preference, then Settings, and you could see additional board manager's URL. And from here, we're going to paste this expressive URL. Then I hit OK. You could see it's downloading all the index package. It might take some time, so I will take this offline and come back when it's done. Now, let's go back to the requirement needed for this firmware. So, first one here, it's Arduino JSON by Benoît Blanchon. So, for this one, we just type Arduino JSON. And you could see it's already installed. So, I'm not going to do them all. I will go offline, make sure I have all the dependencies present, and then we will compile together. I've already installed Arduino, of course, and the requirement here. Now, I've already done the clone and opened the file, as you can see earlier. And for choosing the board, it's already done here. As you can see, I have the board selected. Otherwise, you need to fill up the board name and search. Now, before clicking on upload, as you can see on the screen, there is this kind of trick you need to do. You need to press boot and then plug the ESP to your computer. Then, when it's done, we could finally hit upload button. And now it's going to compile the sketch here and then upload to the ESP. So I'm going to cut the video here. I struggle compiling it from the sources. I keep having the same error message during my compilation. Dynamic JSON document was not declared in the scope. So I reviewed all the different steps. Adam did it great. He shared all the different versions he needs as a dependencies. However, something might change. At the time when I'm recording this video, it's like maybe less than 10 days ago. So the ESP async web server, either you install it from the Arduino IDE or from the GitHub sources here, you will not get your 1.2.4. It's much higher version, around 3.3. something. So what I did here, I installed the version from Calcar, and thanks to him, I am in 1.2.4, which makes sense in the end because the async web server here has a dependency with the ESP async TCP, and both here need to be in 1.2.4. So thanks to this, it's now working. Flash has been completed successfully, so my goal now is to check the ESP32 to ensure it's fully working in terms of accessing of the web interface. Some ESP32 might arrive dead on arrival, which seems not to be my case because I was able to flash it. Nonetheless, don't trust, always verify. So I will open the browser, paste the address, which is here 192.168.4.1, and then you have 3 buttons here on top. So last read, which is all the latest card you have been scanned. So here there's not much to show because obviously I didn't plug the reader and didn't test anything. CTF mode, pretty much the same thing. So here it should display the last 10 read and information about the card. And what we will see here in settings, so you have the choice between CTF and demo mode. Demo will present generic information about the card you have scanned, and also you could display a generic message on the display, not on the web interface. So that's interesting. And then if we stay on CTF mode, it will be allowing you to customize it, because here, as we can see, we have a bunch of settings. I'm not sure if it's only related to the reader, so you could change the LID colors and use a speaker each time you use a card. So we'll see how that works. And same thing here with the Wi-Fi, so you could change the SSID you want. So that's pretty it. I think it will be more interesting later when I will take everything offline, solder it. Thanks to PCBWay, I've received a coupon covering the cost of this PCB. I only had to pay for import duties from customs. Due to the minimum order requirement, I now have 5 assembled boards and 1 unassembled one. I'm considering organizing a giveaway, but I'm still finalizing the detail. So if you're looking for a gift for this Christmas season, stay tuned by liking and subscribing to the channel. PCBWay reached out with an offer to help me fund this experiment, which would have cost over 100 including shipping, but excluding custom fees. The cost per assembled board comes down about $20, which is reasonable in my opinion. However, I had no one to split the cost with, making it significantly expensive for a review. As an amateur, I am asked several questions during the ordering process, which coincided with my summer travel. So Sometimes I overlooked. It took quite of a time to get the shipment ready, and the assembled quality seems really good. As you can see, it's pretty thick. If I move back, and you could see here on the other side the QR code that link to the GitHub. I still have to solder the ESP. I've ordered the wrong one, so that's my fault, but they couldn't provide it. And there is another issue actually. So you could see here like the pins. I need to install a LCD, sort of this one. I think I could still do without it, but I'm like, yeah, it might be interesting, you know, if you want to use the device in standalone. So here, I didn't check, but they should be here, that way. So the screen will come along that way. So that's still something I need to figure out. Do I want to remove and move it here? So right now, if I don't do this, I won't be able to install it in a 3D printed enclosure. So I might do that in the future, but for now, I really want to get this ready for this video. Before the demo, let me show you the current setup. We have a temporary solution because I don't have the wireguard connector on the PCB, which is a bit annoying, so I won't move anything. I don't want to break any connection. And for the LCD, the pins here, as I mentioned earlier, I already soldered on the PCB itself. It's a mistake for myself. I didn't notice from PCBWay's email. I had really had time trying to remove them. For now, I will keep them as is, and I won't use the screen since it's not really to be used standalone. I don't have any 3D enclosure box for now, so I will just use for a demonstration in our video, so using the web URL. And I might just try it later with a better soldering iron. Since I'm not familiar with PCB soldering, I tried a lot different temperature, and my current iron seems to only reach 250s approx degrees, which isn't hot enough to melt the solder on the PCB from PCBWay. In our setup, the RFID card reader requires 12 volt of power, which is supplied through a USB power delivery converter at the bottom here of the screen, along with a repurposed Lenovo PSU adapter. The soldering job isn't perfect here, but since nothing is moving, it's working for now. I will need to improve this setup when I install it permanently in a 3D printed enclosure box. Let me plug the power. Hopefully nothing will catch fire because of the soldering. So we just heard like the beep from the RFID reader, and here we don't actually see, but there is the LED light on the ESP32. So right now we could move on and connect on the Wi-Fi network from the ESP. So I have a door SIM SSID. I will just connect to it and hit refresh for the page right now. I've just scanned a couple of keychain to ensure that everything works. So if we go in settings, we have the CTF mode enabled, and I'm going to keep it as, let's say, default here, no custom message, because we're not using the external LCD screen as mentioned before, so nothing will be displayed on it. And regarding here some kind of card, if let's say we have a valid one, I just want to keep it solid. So I'm expecting here to have green solid LID. And for the beep, you know, I will just keep by default. So I hit save here. Now let's go on last read, just to kind of display it. If I take any random keychain here, I could scan and one new entry will be added here. So it's working seamlessly. And I really like this kind of mode just to kind of do a sort of demonstration. Like if you want to use a flipperzero or any other RFID device, you could just try to read and do a replay attack here, because you basically emulate the keychain or the card you are using. So such a great way to just check if you are able to do it. And of course here it's not portable, so you will still need to use a PC. So I definitely recommend to use it with a screen, so you could make it portable and use it basically elsewhere when you want to sensibilize people to RFID cloning attack and testing. So if we now we go and try the CTF mode. So basically here what we could do is add a specific card data here below. So I already click and add a card previously. So you need to add the facility code, the card number, and a kind of message. And from there, what we will show you is you basically have a message and it will display on the LCD screen or here green when you use this card. So basically, if you use CTF mode, the goal is to find this specific card that will open you the door and give you the flag. So I could use whatever card here and it's not going to give me an authorized access. Whereas if I use the correct one, it will, you see, be green for a couple of times and then show me green here on the screen. So thanks, I win. I use a card present here in the database. And you could bring several kind of a scenario here for your CTF. So that's really handy, and especially if you want to have a portable standalone setup. I will need to figure out how to fix the soldering, maybe get the connectors to make it really clean. And from then, I might even use this RFID reader. So you see, I have a dial pad that will add some complexity in the different tests. And yeah, that's it. So I encourage you to stay up to date with the next video where I will improve this. And I think once I will also figure out how I will make the kind of getaway going on, because I have received several PCBs from PCBWay and I don't want to keep them all for me. I want to share with the community. So I will make kind of a prize. So stay tuned if you want to win one of these PCBs.